Hey guys, it's Joey here, and we're back with another build video. Today we're looking at my Road Warrior ZANE build, which is can't fucking speak. It's pretty much chain ZANE mixed with a bossing ZANE build. Pretty cool, right? So this build can boss, this build can mob, this build is around great. There's a lot of survivability, there's a lot of damage, and it's just overall great. And we're gonna go over it. So first off, let's go over the gear you're gonna be using. And yes, you'll need the latest DLC, the Handsome Jackpot DLC, to make this build work. If you want a non-DLC build, you can go check out Dick on YouTube. He makes also like awesome ZANE builds. No DLC, DLC, just for bossing, mobbing, or however you want it. He's got it all. So yeah, basically for this build, you either want to use weapons with high pellet counts, or weapons that produce multiple projectiles or unlisted projectiles. Let's say you're using a Maggie. Now there's times 6. The Maggie is times 6. So you have 6 chances to proc your Seeing Dead, because this uses the Seeing Dead as well. So you have 6 chances to proc the Seeing Dead class mod, which will refill your kill skills, or just activate your kill skills in general. It's a small percentage, but the more you hit an enemy, or the more enemies you hit, the more likely you'll get your kill skills. So by that you want to use either weapons that chain, produce a lot of projectiles around. Like, there's gonna be a lot of things going on. You're gonna kill a lot of things fast, and you know, it's all around great. It's a great, like, it's extremely great for mobbing, especially because we're using our first weapon on this list, the Redistributor. Now, this weapon is a really good weapon because every 7th shot is amped, and amped shots chain to nearby enemies. Now, the amped shot will do a little bit more damage. I think it's like 15% more damage. But a trick you can do with this gun is to use ZANE's barrier, and when you shoot through the barrier, it amps every shot. So, basically, you chain every shot, and that makes a lot of damage, because you can chain to about 3 enemies, I think. I'm pretty sure it's 3 enemies, and if you're on a 1-on-2 gunfight with 2 enemies, the chains will multiply between. You'll shoot one enemy, the first chain will go to the other enemy, and then the second chain will come back. Then it just does a lot of damage. Just does a lot of damage, and we love damage, you know. So yeah, I've got level 53 variants and level 50 variants. You can use your level 50 gear with this build at the moment. It won't matter. The build is still great. It's still a really good build with even level 50 gear, but most of my gear is level 53 because I farm a lot with ZANE. So yeah. The second weapon, I've already covered it, the Maggie. High pellet, high damage, good DPS, like a really good DPS. So you can use this for bigger targets, or just like badasses in general. Or you can use it to obliterate any like smaller mobs. It's insane. I forgot to mention as well, you'd want to go for 2 anoints on this build for weapons. You want to either find a Sentinel Cryo, like the one when Sentinel is active, you gain 100% of damage as bonus cryo damage. You want either that or the barrier crit one. I think I've got weapons with barrier crit. Yeah, right there. Barrier is active, accuracy is increased by 70%, and critical hit damage is increased by 70%. You want this especially for Wotan, Now, some of you might say Sentinel Cryo is better, and I do kind of think Sentinel Cryo is better because of the multiplying. It's a lot of math that most of you won't probably understand. um, Basically, Wotan is almost completely immune to cryo damage, so if you want to be safe, Barrier Crit is still fine. It's basically 70% of cryo damage, if that was the card. And then I like two weapons, just any weapon. I love the Wedding Invitation with this build. It can one-shot enemies. No overkill, no damage stacking, anything. It's insane. It's just insane. Roman's Call is mostly a miscellaneous gun. The Queen and King's Calls for bossing, but you can also use them for bigger enemies. Or at the start to take down the 3 guards. You can use that, but I'd rather use the Maggie because, you don't have to worry about crits. Kibsworth, so it's miscellaneous, bunch of miscellaneous, MP5 miscellaneous, Gutsman for bossing, Carrier for bossing or mobbing, Dictators for bigger enemies / bossing. If you want to boss with the Dictator, try to find a ×3 version instead of a ×6 version. These are for my bigger enemies in the Slaughter Shaft, and so things like that. The Brainstormer, a really good alternative to a redistributor for shields, is the Brainstormer. High pellets in Central Cryo means you will have many more chances to chain the Brainstormer to enemies, so it just creates a lot of damage, and we love damage. Now, the lobs. This may sound a little bit weird, but the info is a bit outdated. Recently, the lob got a huge buff of about pretty much 1000% damage buff, and it also got increased mag size, and I also think it got a 3-round burst instead of just shooting 1 ball, which this weapon is now insane, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna nerf it. But this is another bossing weapon. It's if you don't want to use the Cutsman, go ahead and use the lobs. They are as or even better, as good or even better than the Cutsman. A Flacker, I love the Flacker. I wanted to get a Sentinel one. It's basically a miscellaneous weapon. The gun is completely wrecks once you get your kill skills going, and you shoot this while moving fast or shoot this while sliding. This will push out a ton of damage. It can boss, it can mob, it can do anything. It's really good. Now, as far as shields go, I usually go for a one-shotter shield. Now, this may be extremely difficult to get for you because you have to get a one-shotter. One-shotter shield is basically a triple amp shield, which will give you 20% drain for your shield versus a 30%, which is on I think the normal one-shotter with normal amp shields, and they'll give you about 100% weapon damage as a boost. So it's really great in general. If you want to get your overkill started with the Wedding Invitation, this is extremely helpful. It'll give you a ton of damage, and it's just nice. For class mod, we've talked about it. The Seeing Dead. Just try to find one with the more on Donnybrook, the better. And try to find weapon specific damage like SMG damage for my redistributor, a bunch of stuff like that. Weapon damage is also nice, but it's better to have specific damage because it's more damage. Now for the grenade, try to find a Nitzbis with on grenade thrown weapon, grenade and action skill damage are increased by 25% for 6 seconds. Now you won't throw grenades in this build, but your drone will, and your drone will actually proc the anoint. And if the Itzbis targets an enemy, hits an enemy, they'll take about 45% damage total, which is insane because this build just does a lot of damage. It's insane. It's insane. And now for the artifact, you can use either the Icebreaker Victory Rush for mobbing, or the Snowdrift, either splatter gun if you're using a shotgun, or auto idle, or any other type of Snowdrift. You just need the Snowdrift basically for bossing. Now you can technically not use this for Wotan. I use the Icebreaker Victory Rush in the Wotan fight. It works just fine. But this just increases your damage by a lot, and is real good for bosses, one-on-one bosses basically. Now let's go over the skill tree. Let's go over the green tree first. So we're going 5 out of 5 on ready for action for shield recharge, ready and delete. You don't need that. You can put your points anywhere here. It doesn't matter. 5 out of 5 brain freeze for when you hit a crit, targets will get slowed, and this stacks until they get frozen in place, and you can do more damage. And in general, it's just control, mobbing control. Then confident competence. When your shield is active, you gain good damage and accuracy. Just damage. Let's go over the red tree. Now we're going 5 out of 5 synchronicity for gun damage per action skill, 3%. We're going 5 out of 5 Donnybrook for health regen and gun damage. We're going 3 out of 3 on borrowed time for a lot of action skill duration, which Good Misfortune is gonna base its killing an enemy increases ZANE's action skill duration. This will base the 6% is based off the max duration, so borrowed time helps you with that. And for the blue tree, we're going 5 out of 5 violent speed, movement speed, and violent momentum 5 out of 5 for gun damage, depending on your movement speed. These two go really well together. We're going 2 out of 5 on salvation, which this is basically always high lifesteal. You'll always have lifesteal, so great survivability. Drone delivery, the thing I was talking about for the grenade, every 15 seconds it'll throw one. 4 out of 5 coolend, reload speed. 1 out of 1 on death follows close. For basically every kill skill is gonna get increased by 25%, and they'll last for longer. We're going 2 out of 5 on violent violence for more fire rate. 5 out of 5 on playing dirty for an extra shot chance, so double DPS. Already told you about Good Misfortune. And then we're going for seeing red. This is mostly for bossing, basically, because you can't really trigger your kill skills unless you shoot the boss, which I don't really like. I don't really like wasting my ammo as soon as I see the boss. Kind of weird, but I just wanted seeing red because it's all around a good skill with this build. So let's go and show off the build real quick. It won't. Yeah. I think, yeah, they all respawn. So once you proc your action skills and just start shooting everything dies. As you can see, everything. This is my M4, by the way. Everything just freaking dies, and not even a magazine. I just reload because I want to. Now that is a nog. Let's go to his back. And yep, he's dead. A little bit of Maggie right there. Now we're not even hitting a crit right there, and we're doing like a lot of damage. Now that's with the crit. Now let's pull out the wedding invitation. Let's go to the next area. Let's snipe some peeps. One shot. One shot. One shot. I had a little bit of overkill, but as you can see, like, this is pretty nuts now that no overkill left. Let's choose this guy. Still, like, no overkill, still doing quite a lot of damage. Now your action skills are going back down. Just shoot a guy with either the Maggie, shoot a bunch of guys with the Distributor. And you should get it back to full. Ow. Oh, come on. He was shielded by a Nog and still died in one shot. That's like 1 million in both damage. Yeah, this build is pretty insane. Let's do a little bit of, you know, Rowan's Call. Like, why not? That's a legendary. Now we're gonna go down. Yeah, let's go. Let's go down. Now I do have my Guardian Rings active, just to have the aiming down sight thing. I could disable everything else and I'll be just fine. I just like aiming down sights when I'm down. So let's go over here. Do a little bit of let's switch it up. Let's switch it up. Use something miscellaneous. Flacker. Yeah, let's go with another weapon, miscellaneous weapon, the Kipsworth. Because my anoint on my Kipsworth is not the best. Let's switch it to fire because we're gonna go fight some fire enemies. Let's pull out this. Pull out this. As you can see, pretty good. You know, it's still pretty good. It's not the right anoint, but doing work still. I mean, it's not as good as the redistributor, but it's still, you know, something. Now let's shoot this guy. As you can see, you know, almost completely dead in one shot. If you use a splatter gun, Snowdrift, a Snowdrift splatter gun or something like that, be sure you don't, you slide and shoot next to yourself, because you can run into your flacker shots and they will down you. And sometimes when you lose momentum, oh, right there, I down myself. Can I get a second win off this guy? Yeah, I can. There you go. So let's go about Chupacabra. Let's go meet the little Chupacabra. And as you can see, pretty much one shot completely killed him. So yeah, basically this build is insane. It's probably the best ZANE build I've seen so far. I've been inspired by Thick Fillet, by Moxie, and a little bit by Jolt's Dude to make this build. So, you know, go check them out. I'll try to put links down below to their channels. And, you know, have a great day, dudes. And I'll see you in the next video.